Okay, Beth, well, here we are once again at the tip of the Malvern Hills at the northern end in Tank Quarry. And the first thing you can't fail to notice is these enormous cliffs, but they're not actually cliffs, are they? Well, what are we looking at here?
You're absolutely right. Tank Quarry is fantastic. I'm not sure if you can hear it on the video, but you can actually hear our voices echoing off this massive amphitheatre. But what we're actually looking at is quarry. It's had quite a long time now. This is one of the largest, most significant quarries in the Malvern Hills, and they were taking out this Malvernian hard rock. It was being crushed mostly and used as aggregate. But what you've got here is nearly 100 years worth of extraction. It actually went much deeper than this and has been filled and retained. And I think that just getting the scale of that is really fabulous. And I think that's a really interesting thing to come and see. But that isn't all of the reasons to come and see Tank Quarry, which I think a lot of people miss out. It's a really great site to explore the geology of the Malvern Hills. So there are lots of different features. We've got some fantastic samples of the rocks found not just here. This cliff, as you can see, is huge. It's not safe to go up to it. It's much better to come here. You not only get the scale, but we can all feel happier. But if you want to touch and learn about the rocks, there are fantastic examples just next to the car park where you can have a nice picnic and you can see them. So you can walk over. There's 5 examples down on this level. Each one you've got samples and interpretation. So there's lots of samples here where you've got some nice interpretation and an example to see. Geology is a very tactile subject, so it's not just about looking, it's about feeling. So this is a lovely sample of granite. Not just these I wanted to highlight, although they are fabulous to see. At this time of year, and we're here in late autumn, as the vegetation dies back, there are some really nice features where the geology really comes to the fore, and a few of them are just next to the car park, so shall we?
Yes, let's move.
Start to see it even at a distance.
It's very pink, isn't it? Very sort of, ochre-y.
So we're right at the edge of the car park, just next to the fence. The nettles and things have started to die back, and they've revealed behind them this very small bit of cliff. This is part of the remains of the quarrying. But what you can see is streaking across it that dark, kind of pinky red colour. What we're looking at is the Malvernian rock underneath and on top. And at some point there's been a crack. It's had a really hard life. It cooled slowly and it's been buried and heated and twisted. And into one of these cracks that's appeared has been pushed in some later material. We call it pegmatite. It's very big crystals. It's something that magma has gone in deep underground and then cooled really slowly, forcing its way in, making nice big crystals. And giving it this, it's a red pegmatite, it's a granite type, and it's given this lovely colour. And you were telling me previously this fantastic fact about pegmatite and its value.
Well, yes, it was used out of the quarries for particularly on two-car tennis courts, the red tennis courts. So it was crushed. And the quarrymen always used to break out the champagne when they found it, because it was worth about 15 times more than the ordinary aggregate stone that came out of the Malvern Hills. So, yeah, something to celebrate as well if you're a tennis player, or you were a tennis player.
Oh, what a fantastic! I love that fact. It's not just, they're not all the same. And if you get your eye in, you can see it does go a huge distance. It's about 12 inches, 30 centimetres wide at this point, and obviously would have come out further into the car park.
What sort of age are we talking about here? The Malvernians were
So the Malvernians are Precambrian rocks, between 680, 700 million years old. This has come in later. It's not exactly clear when it's dated, but certainly in some kind of reactivation, it's a younger rock. And it's actually this cross-cutting relationship which helps us kind of, if not date the features, it helps us build up the story of this happened, then this, then this. So the way it cuts across the local rocks allows us to go, well, it must have happened after they had formed. Yeah. So this is a vein, but you get sills and dikes, which is where you've got a feature that comes in afterwards and cuts across vertically, horizontally in big fat planes, or even just small narrow veins that have exploited a weakness. This quarry, as this pegmatite, is beautiful and looking fabulous at this time of year, but there are other easier, more unusual veins to see that don't leap out but are available should you come here on a nice sunny day in summer. So if we stroll across the car park, these are all very close together. So just behind these interpretation panels and big rocks off the car park, if you head, you can just make out there's a small area of rock. It only stands about 3-4 metres tall. So if you glance at it from a distance, it doesn't leap out at you. However, there's a few features which even on a gloomy day like today really stand out, and once you know what you're looking for. So the first one is you can make out, if I stroll up to these, this kind of diagonal stripe effect going up and down. Don't know if you can see this.
Oh, yes, I can just see the marks.
Just see
in
the marks there,
yeah.
but it actually goes all the way up. It extends all the way up. What you're looking at here are slicken sides. These are the marks given when one rock slides over another. In this case, we're very near the big east-west Malvern fault that's going along, and we are honestly about 20 metres from it. And this looks like it's a little bit, whether it's part of that or a later feature, you can see that as the two rocks, both of which will have been very hard, this Malvernian rock is very tough, they've scratched each other, giving it this big striped appearance. The other side of that has been, in this case, quarried out.
And so a fault is actually this sliding of one lot of rocks against another.
Exactly. And it's slid, and we can see that they've on the diagonal. In this case, they've gone this way. What that's done is this has all been taken out, but what happened before that is on that fault, that line of weakness, at some point after these have solidified, so after the Precambrian, and in fact after the later fault has formed, in that little gap, hot water full of minerals has pumped through, and it's just trying to get through that line of weakness. This would have happened underground. This isn't overground hot spouting things. And as that water goes through and cools down, the minerals in it crystallise out. In this case, we've got barytes. It's not very big patch of it, but you can see a little patch here and here and down there. In fact, you can see how thin it would have been. Down here, you can see just where it's perched on that surface. And it's where it's exploited, again, it's over there. It's exploited that line of weakness in the same way the veins did with the pegmatite. It's found a line of weakness, the water's flowed through, and you've got these barytes crystals even, a few little patches here where you can see as they've grown slowly. And this is used in drilling mud, although in this case, it's not been quarried for any kind of profit here. It's just that they've taken away the rock, and this is an obvious stable edge, if you like.
So did you say drilling mud?
Yes. So when you need to lubricate a drill deep down in the Earth's surface, maybe for getting out oil or anything else, you need something. Barytes is one of the heaviest minerals. I'm not breaking it off. I don't want to damage it, but it's got some serious weight to it. So what they do is they grind it up and add it to the lubricant. Because it's heavy, it'll keep going to the bottom to keep your drill bit lubricated, because otherwise they get very hot when drilling through hot rocks. So this is the main use for this. There are many others. It's barium is this mineral varieties gives us barium.
Okay, you can hear that in the word, can't you?
But you can just see a few crystals. This has not been mined in any kind of formal way. It is just on this surface, which they've left, I'm guessing, because it's the obvious point to end this quarry.
But this, rather like the pegmatite we were looking at, the pink pegmatite, the things that have fallen into a gap that's been created.
Yeah.
And they're just different chemicals, different metals.
Yeah, so in this case, instead of it being a warm, hot magma deep underground that's forced its way through a crack, at this point it's liquid, so a hydrothermal water almost. It would have other things in. And in amongst that will be the mineral barytes, which has then grown as it's cooling. But again, it's exploiting that crack line of weakness. The Malvern Hills are very old, and they've had a really tough time of it. And each time big things happen, they crack, they shear, because that's how rocks work. So they're either going to get deformed as they get hot and melt, or they're going to crack and shear. And in this case, those cracks have then, over time, various features. And again, it's that idea of this happened, then this, and you look for those relationships. Yeah. So even if you're not dating what's happening, you're starting to build up the story of the rocks, because this, then this, then this.
And it's also that these cracks that we're seeing, the brittleness of the rocks, is what gives rise to the Malvern water as well, isn't it?
It is
Because
indeed.
it falls into the cracks.
Yes.
And then comes out at the spring line at the bottom. So,
and those cracks aren't joined up, so you get patches of them here and then this bit of rock cracked over there, which means the different springs have their own personalities, for want of a better phrase. They are their own individual features.
So there is a story of the sort of cracks of the Malvern Hills in a way to talk about as well.
So
what goes into them.
They tell us about how the rocks are, but also what's happening now and how they're evolving into the future and how we use them. In this case, this particular bit has formed a stop on the edge of the quarry. So, as if all of this wasn't great enough, there's yet another one of these fantastic veins in this site. It's a wonderful site. I recommend everyone has a visit. There's just so much to see. So if we walk up and round that slight slope, I'll take you to the final one of these and more interpretation panels to tell you about the rocks surrounding. So I've brought you to the top of the path, just to the side. There's even more interpretation panels. These are examples of some of the rocks that are found slightly further afield. But the feature I want to see is just round the side, admiring the beautiful view on the way. Right on the very edge of this, you can see in the distance a little panel.
Oh, yes, yes.
And it's this feature that I wanted. Easy to miss, but worth the detour. So just up here behind the trees, you can see another little bit of rock that's been kept clear. And this is another one of the veins. So what we've got is like the pegmatite, where we had magma coming through, and the barytes where we've got hot fluid. This is actually a quartz vein. And if we go up, this is really significant. It's the largest in the Malvern Hills.
Right, okay, let's go.
You can see it's a really huge beast once you get up close. It's been exposed for a while now, so you can see lots of cracks and joints. These aren't the big decorative crystals you see, but this is quartz running through. On top of it, this is the Malvern rock. Below it, it's the Malvern rock, and you've got this big fat vein. In places, it's again exploited a line of weakness. That isn't a flat plane.
Yes.
Although when we looked at the pegmatite, it looked quite flat and narrow.
Yep.
Here it's quite wide, then it gets a bit narrower. And then over there, we've got some much wider sections. And this is the largest of the veins cross-cutting the Malvern Hills. But you can see why, it's huge. This is a huge amount of of hydrothermal water full of quartz. As precipitated.
What is quartz as a mineral? Is it
silica dioxide, SiO2?
Okay. And is that something like sand, or is that just me?
Yeah, no, it is,
imagining?
and it is exactly like sand. It's incredibly hard. The reason we can still see it, it is exactly the same mineral. In fact, sand is usually this that's been crushed into tiny little bits. So if this give it a few more, well, more than a few million years, but rather than turning to dust, it turns to those sand crystals. And that's what you've got. It's this really hard rock, and there's just this huge vein of it coming through.
And have we any sense of how old this is again, or would we just be guessing?
We'd just be guessing at this. We haven't dated it. Again, it's that relative thing of what happened first, what happened second. So in this case, we know that this rock must have been hard. Yeah. It's had the post deposition. It's had that hard life. So time has passed. It's definitely a hard rock. Yeah. And then this has come through again in that hydrothermal, that hot water bubbling up from underground. And
I mean, how do we know that this is quartz? Is it the colour? Is it the shape? Can you see any shapes of crystals?
So sometimes that crystals form in specific shapes relevant to each type of crystal, and it's a great way for identifying them. But that normally happens where you have a gap for them to grow into. In this case, that hasn't happened. So we know it's quartz because it's very hard. Another mineral that might superficially look the same is calcite, but they're slightly different habits, we call it, that shape that a crystal wants to be. Looking along this, you really can't see any of that lovely distinctive crystal growth. It's a cloudy quartz, but it's its hardness that gives it that.
So does that mean you can't scrape it? Would it?
I wouldn't scrape it. It's not diamond hard, but it's hard enough that scraping with my thumb or even a knife isn't going to do much.
Whereas perhaps other ones you might be able to
Different ones you might be able to. Some of them, calcite forms in what we call a cubic habit. So even when it's milky, this gives superficially in places you think, oh, you could almost imagine that's a cube, but that's actually where it's been deformed later. Quartz crystals haven't done it. In this case, it's grown as one slowly growing mass, so you don't get those lovely distinctive. If you'd had a hole known as a vug, you might have got them growing in, but this is underwater and hasn't formed in that way. I think it may have pushed something open rather than there being a big gap and it's gone, hey, I'll flow through that big super highway, if you like.